Hello, it's moi again. I'm low-key nervous about using this mic again because it died in the last video. I am sick today. I am getting over a cold or flu. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm feeling like 85% better. So I figured, why not do a video? Today's topic: academia is not built for neurodivergence. I found out last year that I have ADHD, inattentive, and it's been a very interesting journey, kind of connecting the dots from the past and also moving forward in a way that is productive to how my brain works. Now that I have a better understanding of how I am because of my neurodivergence, I'm starting to take the steps to make my life easier in regards to conducting my research. Unfortunately, a byproduct of investigating ways to make my life easier has opened up new challenges in regards to how people treat people with disabilities or neurodivergence. I am not going to dox anyone right now or mention the specific people I've encountered in regards to how poorly I have been treated as a student, and the fact that I've spoken to other students who have disabilities and they unfortunately have similar experiences. I mean, it's one thing for me to be treated a certain way, but to hear that an entire community is being treated a certain way is very upsetting. It's just the nature of academia, right? The biggest shock that I've had about this experience is that a lot of people who work in mental health or work in well-being have no compassion or have difficulty communicating in a way that works better for neurodivergent people. So that's the scary thing about this. Without getting into the nitty-gritty of things, I was trying to seek help. I'm still trying to seek help on a specific issue related to my accessibility needs in terms of how I best work as a neurodivergent person. I've been receiving a lot of pushback, or not even pushbacks, just apathy. Even when I offer alternate solutions, they've been turned down or dismissed. And speaking of dismissed, I came to this person wanting help, having been already frustrated. They're probably like the sixth or seventh person I've talked to about this, right? So I'm already a boiling pot. The pot has been sitting on the stove. There was just something that was said that was like, you know what? I'm tired of being tossed around like a doll and being told the exact same thing with nobody finding a real solution for me. And so I kind of like really got upset. I said the previous people who were talking to me were dismissing me. And this person said, "You weren't being dismissed." And I was like, "Oh, do you not realize that you just dismissed me by saying I wasn't dismissed?" Like the gaslighting of it all, right? First of all, this issue I've been dealing with for literally almost 3 months. And for somebody to come back and show me that lack of compassion was hard. And I talked to my ADHD mentor about it. And I cried because I was like, I'm so freaking done with people who don't know how to speak to students who are trying to get help. I don't care about this person. What I do care about is the fact that people who work in mental health are treating neurodivergent people this way. I don't want this to sound all doom and gloom. There are some really good resources and some genuine people out there who are trying to help, but it's never going to be easy, is what I realized. One thing that was positive, I went to a workshop that was for neurodivergent researchers, and I thought that to be very helpful and affirming and validating. His name is Dr. Jeremy Kidwell, and he's here at my university. And he talked about his experiences of how to survive and thrive as a neurodivergent researcher, even down to the smallest things. For example, when we got into the space, like some of us are very sensitive to sound, to light, like to everything around us. And the first thing I noticed when I got into this room was that the lights were so bright. It was like the ugly overhead lighting, and it was like bothering me. But in my head, I thought, I'll just deal with it. But then later on, someone had said something. They said, "Can you turn off that light?" And I thought, oh, yeah, these are my people. A lot of the things that we go through can feel so overwhelming versus for neurotypicals, it can seem like so simple. And when it comes to research, that's a danger zone, right? Because we have so much work that we need to do and we can't not do it. I'm going to kind of be referencing a little bit about what he talked about. One of the things that really stuck out to me was this slide. Can't I just continue my life in being invisible? A lot of us want to do that, right? We don't want to cause issues. We don't want to feel like we're being too much with our requests because everyone else makes us feel like we're being such a bother. Exhibit A, this experience that I'm going through right now. He said that invisibility is not a safe space. And that's true. It's not. Neurodivergent people are so unique. We're all individuals. We're not always going to relate to each other's experiences, but that doesn't mean that they're not important. So, how does a neurodivergent researcher work? Well, for me, it's a combination of different things and how I am feeling on the day. Some days I need to work alone in silence, not bothered by anyone. In other days, I need people to be there. I need to sit in a room where people are working so it keeps me accountable. If I'm feeling a certain way and I am not like given the opportunity to have this kind of working space, I just shut down. I don't get things done and it's not a good time. One thing that I've really appreciated that the university has given me is connection with my ADHD mentor. So far, we've been talking once a week over Zoom, and she just talks to me about my work, everything I'm doing. And that's the one where I told her like literally all of my projects. So not just my PhD extra work, like conferences, like the Horror Society. I'm talking about like my film work as a director. Like I have 2 films, I have a music project, I'm working on a screenplay. And I told her literally she asked me, "Are you burnt out?" Maybe. Some of us who are neurodivergent, we get overwhelmed so easily. We don't know what to start with. We have so much going on. She will sit down with me and be like, let's break this down. What's the priority? For example, when we say we're going to work on a screenplay, what does that mean? I'm going to work on 2 pages in an hour. Something realistic, something actionable. And honestly, it sounds so simple, but it's actually been really nice. I'll look at my calendar and I have everything listed and I have tons of lists. So that's another thing. When you talk to neurotypical people about your schedule as a neurodivergent, you're like, "Oh my God, I have to do this, have to do this, have to do this." And then they'll be like, "Make a list." And I'll be like, "I have a lot of lists." We have lists. It's just our brains are not functioning and organizing the way that most people do. And I realized having an ADHD mentor is a huge privilege, and not everyone is going to have the ability to have that or eat. Like, let's say you're not in university and you'll have to pay for somebody to coach you. Some neurodivergent people will have a therapist and also a coach to kind of guide them through the day to day. It doesn't mean you necessarily need to have one. Not everyone does, but there can be like identifying these steps to kind of help you through your studies and your research. This is why I feel like getting diagnosed is so important. There'll be some people who are like, if you've been living your life all this time, then you should be fine, right? Not really, because you don't understand yourself, and that leads to a lot of erosion of self-worth and feeling like you're too much or being called that you're too sensitive, too disorganized, don't know what you're doing, etc. A lot of us, I've come to realize, accept that about ourselves because we're so used to, as a child, hearing a lot of negative feedback towards ourselves that we think it's normal. It's not normal. It's the fact that the world doesn't accommodate people who are neurodivergent. That's a problem. But we can't fix other people, right? So this is why I feel like diagnosis was life-changing for me, because I thought I was living life just fine at 100%, But like talking to my therapist and talking to my ADHD mentor, I've come to realize that there's this whole like stuff under the bridge that I did not know I was dealing with because I've normalized it. Many of us have normalized it, and it's quite sad. If you suspect that you are neurodivergent, I really do recommend, if you're able to find out, because it's nice to have tools for the struggles you're having in your life. And a lot of us don't even know we're struggling. I constantly talk about this with my friends who are either also ADHD or have autism. Kind of like so disheartening to talk to a neurotypical person and then have them look at you like you're a crazy person. Like, why do you feel that way? Why do you act that way? Why do you keep thinking this way? My greatest friends are neurodivergent is because we flock to each other. We understand each other on a deeper level. Basically, to circle back on academia as a neurodivergent researcher, Dr. Kidwell, in conclusion, said that the principles for success would be to find your voice, find a safe community for critique, accept your past self, and move forward. Form a disclosure plan you're comfortable with, develop a disability identity, your story told your way to the people you want to share it with. Stop trying to emulate other models of success for people who experience the world differently from yourself. Identify how you best process learning and communication. Recruit an advocate. Exposure therapy is not effective for learning. I will link to his profile. I didn't even get to speak to him because I had to skedaddle afterwards, but I just thought it was a very wonderful talk. Okay. Adjacently, I just read this article about exploring the relationship between neurodiversity and dance music by Harold Heath. I really liked this article because I'm obsessed with music. I'm a musician myself. And reading this article, I was like, oh, that's me. Oh, I'm a statistic, but in a positive way. I'll link to this article as well. This was recommended by Charlie at the uni. Georgie runs this pop culture theory group. Since it was Neurodiversity Week recently, this was the subject. Some of the things it was saying was about, oh, sorry about the ambulance. Some of the things the article was saying was that a lot of neurodivergent people adore music. They're creative. Specifically with the dance music scene. So they talk about DJing and how it's so like calming to be in like all these lights, all this music, all this dancing. It's very satisfying for the ADHDers. I love this quote. The most beautiful thing about club culture is the celebration of individuality. That is at the core of it, regardless of your neurotype, to be who you are and to live as freely as possible. This is by Liam O'Reilly. At the core of it, we just want to live as freely as possible. Sadly, that's the most difficult part about it because we live in a world that doesn't understand who we are and doesn't encourage who we are. If you are neurodivergent, I'd love to hear like your experience in academia and how you conduct research or your studies. Or if you're neurotypical, what have you observed in academia? I do want this to feel like a conversation for everybody, especially like those, we have friends, we have loved ones, neurodivergent, and in fact, there's so many people who are undiagnosed. Okay, there's going to be another final word because I like this quote too. I'll leave the final word on the subject to Andy Edwards, who has a message for neurotypicals and the neurodivergent alike. The main takeaway from this is that everyone needs to be much more open and much more flexible in their expectations of others. Accept people for who they are and be cool with that. The late Tony Wilson said that being cool was about being authentically, unashamedly yourself. He was right. I think that's so wonderful. At the end of the day, we just want to be authentic in ourselves and share that with other people. I hope every day can feel like that, like you have a space where you can truly be yourself and not have to mask who you are for the sake of society or dumb nuggets. I don't know what a dumb nugget is. I was thinking about McDonald's. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much for listening to me. Yep. I'd love it if you could subscribe if you want to. And thank you for being here. And I guess I will see you in the next video. So, bye.